vidimo šta se događa sa LTE-om. E pa, kako je P3 Communications definirao kvalitet LTE mreže u Evropi? Zašto je bolje? Najprve voditi LTE u ruralna područja. I šta smo naučili o potrebama i željama korisnika telekomunikacionih usluga? Konačno, bit će reći o tome koje su usluge najvažnije korisnicima. Mr. Ralf, ali ne Heinz, nego Pabst. Mada pomalo i liči na Ralfa Heinza, ali dobro, mislim, o tome ćemo drugi put. Dakle, Mr. Pabst, welcome. On je Head of Network Measurement and Testing, P3 Communications. Please.
Thank you very much for what I'm sure was a very kind introduction. My apologies in advance that I do not speak Serbian, so I'm forced to deliver my presentation in English. But I'm amazed by the huge attendance, which may be some kind of a problem because some of you are forced to sit in the back, and some of the typing on my slides will be too small, but don't be worried. I will hopefully cover the most important points in speech, and you will not be forced to read each and everything that's there. Yeah, welcome to the presentation. I'm going to talk today about our paradigms when it comes to measuring network quality, with a special focus on LTE, obviously, because LTE is the thing in the market right now. And how to relate the performance that we see to the customer experience, and how to bring the customer experience picture actually together with the picture of very technical engineering style measurements. So about P3 Communications, just a few words. Most probably not, the majority will not know us. We are an engineering services company originally based in Germany. We are active in various industry sectors. Besides communications, we also do aviation and automotive consulting. It's mainly about helping our customers in those areas, solving their technical problems through engineering and consulting. Especially when it comes to quality problems. So initially we've been working in production quality, product quality, and consulting operators about the network operators, but also other customers about the related activities needed to do that. So our customer base in the communications area is network operators, it's handset manufacturers and chipset manufacturers for whom we do the testing. It's public bodies, like, for example, regulators, but also governments, especially in Germany, in Luxembourg, and some other countries also, who we consult in around all the topics related with telecommunications. One aspect of the work we're doing is network measurements, and that is the focus for today. But it's by far not the, let's say, it's not everything we do. It's just one fraction of the of our portfolio. And the important aspect which we think defines ourselves is that we take a neutral position and are basically not affiliated to any of our customers. We are a privately owned, and our owners are the ones also leading the company and driving the decisions. And that makes us very well renowned as an independent entity when it comes to assessing quality. So why measuring? Because I'm quoting here a famous person, Mr. Peter Drucker. He was a professor and one of the in the US, and one of the founders of, as they call him, of modern management. He's been developing the paradigm of leading by objectives, and he's been saying that only what you actually measure, you will be able to appropriately manage. And that's basically the whole point about measuring your performance of your mobile networks. The reason is you want to leverage the performance of your mobile network as a competitive advantage. You want to be able to tell people, look, this is what I can do for you, and you want to make it, well, objectively visible and transparent. For that, you have to first understand where you are. You have to assess and analyze the quality that you have. You have to strategize. You have to set up work for a strategy so you understand what is your unique service profile and quality profile that you want to offer your customers, and then you have to make sure to optimize your network so you're meeting that strategy, and in the end make sure in a benchmark also with your competitors that you actually have reached the goal of providing those advantages or providing the profile that you want to show. And then, of course, the ultimate goal will be for your marketing people to be able to talk about it. As you can see here, it's something that is very widely used in a lot of markets. P3 is doing public benchmarks in Germany since 2002. I think Connect, the partner organization of PC Press in Germany, is doing that for even longer. They started back in the 90s to do a regular public benchmarking in Germany. P3 joined as their supplier in 2002 and have extended that portfolio to more markets. We are this year offering public benchmarks together with media partners in 8 markets. So it's Germany, which is the historic market. It's Switzerland, Austria, which we are doing since 2009. It's UK, which we are doing since last year, second time this year. Also Australia we're doing this year for the second time. And we've added Spain and the Netherlands to the portfolio this year. So this is all markets where we are helping operators to elaborate on their performance by offering a public independent benchmark and it's interesting to note that also even coming second. For example, this is an ad from Sunrise last year where they were saying we are the shooting star of the year, even though they finished second. Doesn't matter because they've came from last rank in the year before, and they've done huge work on improving their service quality profile in the voice area, which was really a valuable asset for their customers and a valuable asset to leverage upon. So this can be used in various ways. Well, but how to do that? How do you manage to work with the measurements that you do? If you measure network performance, you end up having tons of KPIs. You have a huge amount of different values, and it's hard to determine what is actually important. What is important for the customers? What do they feel? What do they not feel? And you have a lot of distracting details, which can also become politics inside your organizations. If you're a network operator, you will know that much of your organization's behavior is driven by politics. Some people say, look, I'm not taking responsibility for this. Look at that value. It is showing that somebody else has done something wrong, and so on. You know, that is the way these organizations work. And if you want to come around that, our proposal is to use what we call a P3 score. It's a management tool that basically helps you to aggregate these vast amount of performance indicators that you get into a single score following a defined and accepted methodology and transparent methodology, which helps you to aggregate basically all the performance, like huge values, tables of values that you see here, into one simple figure. You have a score of, I don't know, some number. How to do that, we will see. But what it helps you with is make your unique performance profile that I was elaborating on the previous page much more visible and much more easy to capture. It helps you to benchmark with your direct competitors, but also with indirect competitors, and that's like in other countries. It helps you to see what is the best-in-class performance. What are other operators that have the similar setup as I have in terms of spectrum, in terms of equipment out there? What do they? What can they achieve? How far am I from what they can do? This helps you set also manageable targets for your organizations. Saying, okay, I know that with the same setup, some other operator in some other environment can achieve this and that. This is much closer to the real life than theoretically derived targets. It helps you also to look at your history, how you did in the past and how you are doing now and how you improved relative to that. Much easier than looking at KPIs which are ever changing, where everybody will keep telling you, no, this cannot be compared with that because of, and so on and so on. essentially, the mechanics of the whole thing is very simple. I mean, it is aggregating whatever you have bottom up. You start on the level of different KPIs, and you have maybe different sorts of KPIs. I don't want to go into details here. You measure these. You measure them for different services, and you measure them in different environments. You have geographical modules here, and you will combine those. Looking at a high-level service type modules, so you will be able to say, okay, I have this much achievements in data, I have this much achievements in voice, and overall, also these you will be able to put together into a single monolithic figure. Of course, this is nice because that can be easily compared. It's something that you can, on one slide, communicate on a C level without having too much need for going into technical details. But it proves, or it has the possibility to actually do the drill down. Because of course, if you show one figure, first question will be, it will be nice because it's quickly perceivable, but then the next question will be, okay, what does it mean? And then you can say, okay, it means you have two networks that have the same score. One is much better in data, one is much better in voice. It doesn't mean having the same score means it's the same profile. We will see that later on. So, and then from there you can drill down to the basics. So it serves an engineering purpose because you can look at, you can drill it down into the details and can see, okay, where am I losing my score points? And at the same time, you can aggregate it to a very high level for easy communication. I'm showing some examples here. This is, for example, a breakdown across a number of countries here. This will probably be a bit hard to see in the back. An international comparison of performance as we see in big cities according to the defined score model. If you want to know more about that score model, there is a workshop later on in which we will go into details on the methodology and how it actually works. There is not enough time here to do that. It's not simple, but it is transparent and open, so it can be explained. We see here some dark blue bars which show the results of the independent benchmarks that we do. I was telling you. And Spain is not yet done, so Spain has a different color here still, where the light blue ones are results from what we call independent benchmarks. That is measurements that P3 is doing on its own account, but they are open for purchase to interested parties, where the public benchmarks are activities where the results are not for purchase. They will be solely used for the press publication. But what we see is we have some markets like Austria and Australia and Switzerland, which end up having really high scores. The maximum possible here is 650. So you will see always the best network in that market, which has here in that case 560. And you will see as a gray shade here the average seen in that market. So you can see that some markets, for example here France, you have a very high variation between the best network and the average. Where some other markets, like for example the Netherlands, achieve top score here, 592 out of 650. It's really very, very strong performance we're seeing there. And that also the average is very close here to the top. So you see all the networks there are really very strong on in that market. That is the overall score. Of course, we have the possibility to drill down. Let's give just some examples, a very quick one. This is from the same markets. This is just looking at YouTube video. You can see at the top, again, most of the networks here for an S standard definition video, that means low resolution, low throughput, will end up having pretty good and pretty same results here. And also the average in the market is quite the same. So it means the SD quality is managed on a level that is acceptable for the user and will not raise complaints by all operators. As we're looking at HD video, which is much more demanding, we see that the picture starts to separate. We see suddenly a quite strong differentiation both between the different markets and also within the markets. We suddenly see that in Great Britain, for example. Well, the best operator achieves 50 points, but the average is only 30 points. You can see this huge span in the perception, in the customer perception. We can also have a look at throughputs. This is something we rarely do, but it is also a part of the scoring framework. Here we see something at the top. We see what the throughput that you can rely on in 90% of the cases. So that is the basic. What the score is trying to do, it's trying to model the expectation of the user. And the main expectation of the users is to have a working service. It's not like peak performance. We also are looking at peak performance. That's the bottom. And you see how big the difference is. Take the example of Australia here. You have peak performance, like in the top 10% of cases, you have the best network is offering 95 megabits per second average of throughput, whereas in, let's say, in 90% of cases, you can rely on a minimum of 12 megabits. So that's the span you're looking at, which is much more important to have something decent to be relying on than to have excessive and impressive peak performance. This is one of the aspects of the scoring that we have defined. The same thing for the upload. I will skip it in the interest of time and come back to the unique service profiles I was talking earlier. So you can use the score to look at how well you are doing in certain areas, as we have seen. You can, for example, here you can see an example for the networks in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. They are actually, each of them is plotted here with the maximum or the percentage achieved on the voice score versus the percentage achieved on the data score. And of course you can make up your mind with looking at your strategy, where do you want to be. Take the example of E+, which is the smallest German network, has been recently taken over actually by Telefonica. But they are achieving 80% of voice score, which looking at the overall is not too bad. You can do better, but it's quite decent. And they are achieving very low, only 60% on the data score. This is because they are a low-cost network. That's their market, their value proposal. They say, you can come to me, you get very, very cheap service, and it's, like say, decent but not outstanding quality. And that means voice needs to work, and data is so-so. Looking at some others, looking at Vodafone here, very good on data, very high, 90%. They were one of the first to roll out LTE in Germany. Good performance there, but only 60% on voice. I'm sure that is not tied to their strategy. I'm sure it's not their strategy to say, okay, let's have great data service, but voice is okay, it sucks. So you can immediately see, am I on track with respect to my strategy or not? And you can also drill it down even further. So this is where looking at data. If you look at all the different services that we have there, like browsing, like file download, like file upload, like YouTube, you can see for each of those how many of the maximum points am I actually getting, and immediately answer the question, is that what I'm seeing here? Is that okay for my value proposition? Like, for example, taking the E+ example again, we see upload throughput is not that good. We see HD YouTube is not that good, which would be okay for a customer who only pays €9 a month, most probably. But looking at the customer a bit more, how am I doing time-wise? Okay, I probably need 5. Looking at the customer picture once more. I'm sorry, this is for sure really hard to read. We have the span here between network performance that we were looking at right now and the customer perception at the other end. We know we are quite okay and we are quite good. We have established processes to know what is the performance of the network, measure all those KPIs, as I said, even turn them into a score. But and also we have some means available to understand what the customer wants. We have Net Promoter Score. You have your help, your hotline where people can call. You have your shops which tell you how people feel, and you have all sorts of things. But looking at what is the customer-specific aspect of the performance, we are typically, that's the spot where it gets weak. But that is actually the linking element between what the network delivers and what the people feel. That is each individual customer's perspective, and the message we're giving is in order to bring those two views together, you need to have a right assortment of capabilities in place. So, as I said, so we have customer care, and at the top we have all the technical collection, OSS, probing, drive test at the bottom. But what is here in the middle would be speed test, would be looking at the usage of apps and their performance on a per customer basis as a statistics, looking at device at information collected on the customer devices, and that's something P3 is doing basically for quite a long time. It's been one of the founding ideas since the installation of the P3 communications branch in 2001. We started looking at self-made hardware around a Siemens handset that could extract some of the performance data from the handset. We went better having SIM applets there. And when we went across Symbian, which is now dead, and we went for Androids on-device active testing, and we are now at a solution which we call P3 Insight, and which is basically an on-device data collection that can give you various performance statistics that we are deploying now worldwide. It's basically an SDK that we can build into a wide variety of apps. And as you can see, a very small picture of the actual coverage. I mean, the absolute number install base is varying per country, but it is proliferating quite well. And I'm happy and proud to announce that it is also has arrived in Serbia, because we have last week, in collaboration with PC Press /Connect, started the PC Press Info app, which is available from Android Play Store, and will shortly, I think, be available from Apple Store also, pending approval process there, which helps to collect various metrics from the network, both in an active and also in a passive fashion. So if you install that app, you will have the added benefit of being able to receive the PC Press Info newsletter, so you will keep up to date with relevant market information. And in parallel, you will be able to support this kind of crowdsourced measurement activity. We have similar apps with German Connect. We have a big project with Deutsche Bahn where similar metrics are connected by Deutsche Bahn customers, and we have built the same SDK, the same measurement engine, into a large variety of apps that are freely available in the market, getting us the huge install base and a daily growing number of data samples from around the world. And the very nice aspect here, which differentiates from other apps of similar nature, is that it's not only doing active tests, so you can of course have your classical speed test gauge here, you press a button and you see what is my throughput, but also you have the possibility to use all the data transfers that you're normally doing as passive speed tests, because they're being monitored, their volume and speed is being recorded and being made available as statistics. So you have a very close look at what your customers are actually getting. I'm skipping this because in the interest of time, I will come to my closing slide here, which is basically the main message I want to give. We have the dedicated network quality testing on one side, which is an essential and continues being an essential part of our work, and also let's say your work as a network operator. It's making sure your connectivity, the responsivity of your networks, the reliability, raw throughputs are generally okay, and you have no issues in the network, meaning getting the common basics of most of your services right. And make sure when doing that kind of testing, it's highly technical. You see, you need loads full of equipment. You need to carry them indoors and all sorts of stuff. It's costly and it's expensive and complicated, but it's needed because it provides you with the essential drill down possibilities also to understand your technical problems. And to do so, you need to make sure that all the elements in your end-to-end service delivery chain, like all the proxies and all the I don't know what gateways and things you may have, are actually properly included in that kind of testing. On the other side, looking at the customer experience, you would like to know by looking at an app and collecting app from that, information from that, probably even by using an active feedback component that we have also built into our app. So you can also give active feedback, filling a questionnaire saying, I have this and that problem, and correlate it with the technical information that you're seeing. By doing so, understand, first of all, the mix of services your customers are using, understanding the requirements of each of those most popular apps. So what kind of throughput do they actually need to be to provide the user with an acceptable experience? And in the end, Also, yeah, this is basically the bottom point here also. And therefore, through that, understand what is your customer's quality expectation. Knowing that this is not, there is no such thing as the average customer. Not even the expectation of an individual is the same all the time, because it's highly situation dependent. You may end up in a stressful situation where you have completely different demand than when you're at home just browsing what's next on TV. So in the end, but having both views available is essential to be able to say what are the services that really matter to the customer, and is my network in a shape that it doesn't affect the customer's perception of those services or not. And that's in the end. I have another slide, but I will skip that. Thank you very much for your time, and once more, if you are interested in further details on the methodology behind all this, we will have a workshop after lunch, and everybody's happily invited to join that. Thank you.
Pozdravujemo se Pabsta.